My name is Gabrielle Haby. I'm a University Teaching Fellow. I'm going to be giving this presentation along with Neda. Do you want to say?
I'm Neda Ramirez from the Bicultural Management Studies.
What this presentation is a tool to introduce you to microteaching, which is a requirement for the TA certificate or the certificate in college teaching. And it's also to introduce you to the process of what you're going to be going through in a couple days so you can kind of understand what's going to be expected of you and how things are going to happen. So first off, let's start off with what is microteaching. So I like to think of microteaching as a rehearsal or like a practice round. All right, so what it's going to be is you are going to be put into groups of 6 to 8 other TAs. You're going to be paired up with a university teaching fellow, and you're going to give a practice lecture or a mini lecture over any topic of your choice. Hopefully you'll choose to do something that's related to the subject that you're teaching, so your feedback will be a little bit more valuable. You're going to give your presentation, then you're going to get feedback from your peers. All right, so before I go any further, let me tell you that microteaching is probably one of the most feared parts of the TA training because it can be a little intimidating to get up there in front of other graduate students and give a lecture. But I also want you to know that when we do the evaluations at the end, microteaching is considered one of the most valuable parts. Just think how much easier it's going to be to get up in front of a class of undergrads after you've already gone through a practice lecture with a group of graduate students. All right? Okay. So, when is microteaching? We have 3 days that microteaching will be happening on. First day is going to be on Friday, this Friday, either from 8 to 11 or from 9 to noon. The second day is going to be next Wednesday, January 12th, or next Thursday. And those times are 8 to 11, noon to 3, and 3 to 6 in the afternoon. You should have already signed up for this microteaching session when you registered this morning. If you have not signed up, make sure that you find either Jackie, Dr. Millis, Jose, or one of the university teaching fellows so we can get you into a slot. Okay? So these are the dates. All right, now let's talk about how microteaching works. So microteaching works with you are going to be divided into a group of 6 to 8 other TAs. All right? Now, these other TAs are not necessarily going to be in the same discipline as you. In fact, we make a real effort to try to make sure that everybody's divided equally. So you're going to have international TAs, you're going to have domestic TAs, you're going to have guys from the sciences, from the humanities, all in your group. So keep that in mind when you're planning your lesson. These 6 to 8 TAs are going to be paired with a university teaching fellow who's going to act as your mentor. This will be the same mentor that you're going to have throughout the rest of the semester for all of your follow-up requirements. All right, so it's a nice way to get to know everybody that you're going to be working with for the rest of the semester. One TA is going to present a 10-minute lecture for the rest of the group. After that 10-minute lecture, you and the mentor are going to step outside or go to the side and you're going to talk about how you feel that your presentation went. And you're going to get some feedback one-on-one from your mentor. Meanwhile, the other TAs are going to be talking amongst themselves, discussing how they feel that the presentation went and offering back feedback that they think will be useful to the TA. Okay? After 10 minutes, everybody's going to come back together as a group and we're going to have some discussion. Any questions so far? All right. Your 6 to 8 TAs are going to be divided into 2 separate groups. All right. Among those 2 separate groups, you're going to have 3 different roles that you are going to rotate throughout each session. All right. So one role is a discussion leader, a second role is a recorder, and the third role is a spokesperson. When you show up to your microteaching session, the mentor will pass out cue cards for who's going to be playing what role, and on the back of those cue cards is a nice description of what that role entails. All right? So don't worry about getting stuck being the recorder every session because you're going to rotate for each different TA. All right? Now the process itself begins with a 10-minute presentation from a TA. Then you have a 10-minute discussion with a mentor, which at the same time the group is having a group discussion, followed by a 10-minute discussion group where you have feedback from both groups. All right, so this whole process is going to take approximately 30 minutes per TA. All right, 3 equal segments of 10 minutes each, 30 minutes for each TA. It's really, really important that when you are giving your presentation, you stay under that 10-minute timeline. All right, that's probably one of the hardest things for TAs in this session, is you have a hard time realizing how much material you can really cover in 10 minutes. So we're going to give you some tools to figure out how to plan for that. Okay, for the presentations, in your binder is a planning form for your lesson. Okay, so it looks like this. So here's your microteaching planning template. So you can put your name, the course you're probably going to be teaching, your topic, and then it has a grid, all right, for you to be able to divide your time. So let's say I want to give an introduction to myself and my topic, and I think that my introduction should take 1 minute. So I would put time 0, because I'm starting. My minutes, I would put 1. Topic, I would put introduction. Then I could put a comment that says, I'm going to introduce myself, tell you about my program, and then if I'm going to do an activity, any type of tools or techniques that I may need. All right? So this is your planning sheet. It's in your binder.
Where at?
Towards the back.
Towards the back. All right. On that planning form, you are also going to put the areas of feedback that you want. So if you are an international TA and you're worried maybe about your language, you can put something like clarity of lesson. All right? Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? Also in your binder is this form. This is your microteaching planning feedback sheet. So on here is where you're going to put an area in which you want feedback. Okay, an area in which you want feedback. So this is your planning sheet and your feedback sheet.
This is one, for example, that you can see. It's a little fuzzy, but so all you need to do is fill in your name, the title of what you want to do, your objective, and what you want feedback about. So in just a minute, I'm going to do a lesson, and this is my information. So in my small group, I would have this copy for each of you ready.
Okay. Yeah. Go back. Okay, you're going to bring 10 copies of that sheet, of that planning sheet where you put your area of feedback to your microteaching session. All right, so you need to come prepared with 10 copies. The mentor and each of the other group members are going to get a copy. All right? We have a question? Are we good? Okay, so you're going to bring 10 copies. Your mentor and each one of your group members is going to get a copy of that sheet. All right, for your presentation itself, try not to do this. All right, this is a math professor at MIT, and this is his derivation of a formula. Okay, I don't know if you can see it. It's horrible. So this is not what we're going for. Choose any topic. There is a list of example topics in your binder that you could choose from, or if you want to do a past lecture that you've done, if you've been a TA before, more than welcome to do that. If you know what class you're going to be teaching, you may want to choose a topic from that. That way you can get feedback that's going to be relevant to your class. Give a 10-minute lesson. Make sure you don't go over your 10 minutes. Try to incorporate some of these active learning techniques that we've been showing you over these last couple of sessions. So if you need to bring handouts, if you're going to do a think, pair, share, if you're going to do some of these other activities, make sure that you plan ahead. And keep it simple. Again, this is what you are not going for. All right, 10 minutes goes by really quickly, so make sure that you practice before you get into your session. Do not count on having PowerPoint. So some of the rooms will have PowerPoint, some of the rooms will not. Okay, so the last thing you want to do is plan on using PowerPoint and show up and there's no projector. All right, so don't count on using PowerPoint. The discussion itself. The mentor is going to review the lesson with the presenter. While the mentor is with the presenter, the other members of the group are going to be having discussion amongst themselves, focusing on that area of feedback that the TA requested. The feedback discussion lasts no more than 10 minutes. All right, feedback. Each discussion group provides feedback. The discussion group discusses the presenter's strengths and areas for improvement and comments on the areas of requested feedback. I know a lot of TAs are sometimes really intimidated about getting feedback from their peers, and I want you to know that this is a very positive environment. All right, nobody's going to come and belittle you or throw an eraser at you or anything like that. So this is a very safe, very positive environment. We're focusing on your strengths, okay, and trying to give you areas where you can improve before you get in front of a room full of undergraduates. And the mentor will provide the final comments, okay? The group is now ready for the next presenter. So this cycles on through until everybody gets a chance to present. All right? So now Neda and I are going to model the process for you. So we're going to give you a quick demonstration, and I need some volunteers. Does anybody feel up for volunteering?
Volunteering for what part?
For just playing another member of a group. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we'll do 4. So come on up. You can bring chairs, because it may take a little bit. So just bring your chairs with you, if you can. Okay. So for this next step, Neda and I are going to model the process for you. So Neda is going to be acting as the TA that's giving the presentation, and I'm going to be acting as the mentor. Okay. There you go. Here's the clicker if you want the clicker.
Okay, so I'm Neda and I'm from BBL, and this lesson, this activity is called UKIP. So what we're going to do today, so you can have an idea, there are 2 things required and 2 things optional. So first you will, at the end of it, everyone in this group, talk to your neighbor, and out there too, you'll talk to your neighbor, and I'm asking you to write 1 sentence by the end of the 10-minute lesson. Another option that you can do is to create your own chart, and there's an example over here, and I'll show you in just a second what that looks like. Your other option is to take notes. So if you want to know more about why we're doing this, there's a rationale there. If not, you can just trust that that's what we're doing. So the first thing to do is select a word. So one of the words is religion, another one is world order, another one is perspective and idea. So this is my group. Do we have white paper? No white paper.
You can get my paper. Here.
And also all of you out there with white paper. So this is the example in our white papers that we have somewhere. This is called a KWHL chart, and it looks differently for different students of different ages. So you can see how it is. So the section that we're going to do right now is the KW and the H. There's a sample over here, and we're going to fill out one together. So the first thing to do with this is to pick the topic. So as a group together, we'll decide which one of those words information that you can use, right? So the background. So this is a word, Baha'i, right? It's like a philosophy. It's meant to fit all of those categories. So religion, world order, perspective, idea. So that's one word, and the background, 2 points of background. The original information was from Iran in the 1800s, so kind of different from our Western reality right now. The central figures of this faith are the Baba Baha'u'llah and Abdul Baha, who have other English names, but that's the general way that they're presented, and the reason for those 3 was to preserve the unity of the message. The principles and laws, these are some things that apply internationally and globally. And so love, unity, harmony, oneness, peace. It can sound kind of hippie, but this is really the foundation of it. The covenant or promise of God, from all the religions, that there's a promised one. This is one of the tenets of this perspective of this faith. And also strategies for interacting and for problem solving. Consultation and other problem-solving strategies, right, that are meant to be used not only in one location or with one group of people or in one setting, but across all countries and different settings. So finally, a third important point is to know that there is an organization, right? The word here is administration as in other things, and the purpose of that is to organize, to have order and organization, to set a goal and try to reach it, and to give structure and assistance to individuals and groups. And so it exists, and people can or choose not to obey. And the purpose, again, organization, clarity, unity, and action. So this is some information about that. And now we're going to do the L part, right? We're going back to L. So in your chart, those of you who wanted to do the chart, we're in the L section. You can turn it over and flip back and forth. The first thing I'd like you to do is take a few seconds to reflect on your ideas. What did you hear maybe that was new, or that was something different for you? What do you think? So take a few seconds to kind of reflect on that. You can write or not write. And the next thing I'd like you to do is to turn to a neighbor. So in my micro-teaching session, we have 2 sets of neighbors. So now turn to your neighbor and discuss briefly what you reflected on, either what you wrote or what you think. What was new, what was interesting. Talk together.
Well, I had never heard that philosophy. From what I learned, it requires a shared philosophy.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay. And so because this is a micro-teaching, in a real class, hopefully we'd have more time, you would have more time, and a discussion board and many other ways and outlets to talk with your classmates. In the micro-teaching, it's cut, right? It's cut very much. So we're back to the L part of our optional chart, right? And in our optional chart, this is what we're answering. This is the required part. So talking to your neighbor was the first part, hopefully not too taxing, of the required part. And here's the writing part, the second required part. So on your index card or other sheet of paper that you have available, please write 1 sentence. What did you learn? What did you like? What did you not like? What was new? What was not new? Why do you think that is? And if we were doing something else in our micro-teaching, active learning, what else could we have done? So you can take a minute and write on your index card this group and this group. And then in our brief micro-teaching session, I'll ask, right, in the teams, briefly, something quick. What did we learn? Less than 10 minutes.
I think right now she's asking just from anybody.
Learn some of the tenets of the Baha'i philosophy.
Okay, some tenets, principles. Okay. In the true spirit of instruction, right, we always go back to see, okay, scarce, maybe it is scarce communication. We probably do need that. Scary, it might be. Did we find out how it's possible? Maybe not in this 10 minutes, right? So we have to continue that for another day. And where is it now? Not so much, right? So whenever you're doing your instruction, and in this group, in this example, this is a great way to figure out where you are in your learning and then to wrap it up. So that's the end of my presentation and my lesson about micro-teaching. And now, are there any questions?
Okay. Okay, so now Neda and I are going to step over to the side and discuss her presentation. While we are discussing her presentation, you guys talk amongst yourselves. They've passed out the roles. They have a discussion leader, a spokesperson, and a recorder. So they're going to talk about that. Recorder, you guys are going to leave notes in your feedback sheets, if you had them, that she passed out, and we'll be right back. Okay? So pretend like we're stepping out to the side, but really we're going to have a conversation so that you guys can see what it would be like. Okay? Good job.
Thank you.
How do you feel like it went?
I think it went really well.
Is there anything that you would change?
I think I would have more visuals, something visual to see.
What other visuals do you think that you might add?
Pictures.
pictures? Okay. Were you able to cover all the material? Can you hear me? Okay. Were you able to cover all the material that you wanted to?
That I planned, yeah.
That you planned? Okay. Did you feel like you were short on time?
No.
What areas of feedback were you looking for?
The clarity of the information, that if the information was clear.
Okay. Is there any questions that you have for me?
How do you think it went?
How do I think it went? I think that you did very well. You seemed very confident and very familiar with the material, which I think that is always good for our students to see that we know what we're talking about. Sometimes I think that you felt a little rushed, especially there towards the end, and you had time. So I think maybe next time I just might keep that in mind, just to watch your time.
Okay.
So that would pretty much be that for us. Yay! Not that bad, right? Not that bad. They're still discussing. So if you guys want to discuss amongst yourselves as if you were in groups about Neda's presentation, feel free to do that. We'll give them a couple more seconds, and then we'll share as a group any feedback that we may have for Neda. Yeah.
What is KWH topic?
Okay, Neda, she had a question about your KWHL chart.
Let me go back.
You can go there. It's fine.
How to do this part.
You know?
No, I don't.
Okay.
That should be the next one. There we go.
How are you guys doing? Do you have any questions?
The topic, was she talking about the world order or talking about the discussion of the KWHL and that?
How she made it presentation.
The whole thing, how she did her presentation, the whole thing. So if you felt like there was a disconnect, that may be something that you may want to bring up. Her area of feedback that she wants to focus on is clarity of the lesson.
Yeah, and it was clear.
Yeah.
It was clear?
It wasn't clear.
Okay, so that may be something.
Like the
And
purpose
also the
of
world
the
order
presentation was
thing.
unclear.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you, so these are her,
Subjects that we talked about.
so these are the sheets that she would pass out. All right, so the first question would be like, what would you like most? Because we always want to start off positive. So find something that you like most. I'll give this to you.
I thought she was clear by presenting.
I thought that
The subject wasn't clear.
Okay. Okay. So just work through those questions. So what constructive suggestions do you have? Okay. So I'll let you work through these as a group, and then you're the spokesperson, so you'll be the one I'll be reporting. Okay. Let me see. You did good. All right, so for those of you that can't see, the group over here is working through 5 questions. All right, these are on those sheets that you're going to make copies of that will be passed out. So Neda wants to focus on clarity of the lesson. So the first question the group is talking about is, what did you like most about the presentation? So we're always going to start off with the positive. What did you like about the presentation? What constructive suggestions can you make about the designated areas of feedback, so clarity of the lesson? Did the speaker involve the listeners? Give examples. Describe the speaker's use of the blackboard and other visual aids. And do you have any suggestions about how to make the lesson more effective or understandable? All right. So every time that you're meeting with your group, these are the questions that you're going to be talking about. So it'll be a guided discussion. All right. You guys have any questions over this part? Yes, because you're going to bring 10 copies for when you go. So when Neda went into the room, she would have her 10 copies. She would pass them out. So each person would have one of these. Okay, and then you report as a group. You guys will be divided into 2 groups of 3 to 4 people, depending on how many people are in there. So we'll switch back and forth between the questions. Okay. No, you don't have to do the KWL chart. The KWL chart is what she used as an activity or as a visual aid. So no, you don't have to do that. That was her example of what she used as a visual aid. Okay?
So, at the end, we have to just
Yes, you just have to make a presentation for something. You don't have to incorporate specific things in there. Just some type of visual aid would probably be good. Yes, sir.
Yes.
It depends on which room you're in. Some rooms have computers and PowerPoint, some of them don't. So I would not rely on the computer.
So if we
I'm ready for both.
Use a blackboard or a dry erase board, or if you have posters you want to stick up.
we bring a laptop,
They may not have the projector is the problem.
You can bring it.
What? Repeat the questions. Okay. They were asking, should we rely on a computer or not, or on a projector or not? I would not rely on a projector because you're not sure if you're going to have that available to you when you show up to the room. You will have a blackboard or a whiteboard or some type of board if you want to write on. You can use posters and put them up in the room. You could use handouts if you like, if you're a worksheet type person. There was a session last year where a girl used her body as an instrument. So she had all of us stand up and do exercises because she teaches piano. She teaches piano. So we would mimic different rhythms and things like that. So be creative. You can do whatever you would like.
but we have to show something, not just talk.
I would recommend using a visual aid or some type of an active learning, right? Because we've heard in the past that your students start to lose their attention. Right? Even though 10 minutes is short, sometimes at the end of the day, if you're the 6th or 7th person to go, that 10 minutes can seem like an hour, and you're going to lose your students' attention. So an activity is probably a good thing. And it's good practice for when you're teaching. Okay? All right. So our discussion group, are you guys ready? Think so? All right. So let's go over the first one. What did you like most about the presentation?
She had clarity and was going at a good pace. So.
Can you hear that? She had clarity and she was going at a good pace. So they liked her pace. Okay? What constructive suggestions can you make about the designated area of feedback or the clarity of the lesson?
I would think she should focus on connecting the KWHL method to the exact topic we were looking at. Like it was hard to connect both the things.
Okay.
Maybe because of the limited time.
Okay, so maybe because of the limited time, it felt like there was a disconnect between her activity and the actual lesson. Yeah, is that fair to say? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Did the speaker involve the listeners? Give examples of interaction of the speaker with the class.
Just the KWHL method and the index cards which we use to write our feedback.
Okay, so the index cards for feedback and then that KWHL chart. Okay, describe the speaker's use of the blackboard and other visual aids.
Yeah, she did use all the visual aids.
Yes, she used visual aids. Okay, but you said there was a disconnect, so maybe time-wise, that's something that we could focus on. All right. Do you have any suggestions about how to make the lesson more effective or understandable?
I think the purpose why she's giving the presentation should be more clearer. Like maybe, in the beginning.
Okay, so the purpose of why she's giving this lesson, maybe she could spend some more time and make that a little clearer. Anything else? Okay, do you?
Like I said, everything depends on the timeline.
Everything depends on that time. That 10-minute timeline is really hard. It's really hard to fit under. So take time planning, practice it so that you know that you're falling underneath that time limit. Okay. So, do you guys have any other questions for us now that we've modeled? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Okay, yes, no problem. He was acting as the recorder, all right, so on the back of his recorder sheet's a description of the role, and your mentor will go over these at the morning of your microteaching, all right? He was recording notes, he was focusing on her area of feedback, he was filling out that white sheet as she was going along, okay?
And a group feedback sheet.
And a group feedback sheet. He was acting as the discussion leader, so he was making sure that everybody was focusing on the questions at hand and was not getting off a topic. All right, helping the group stay focused. She was acting as the spokesperson, so when it came time for her group, she was the one that would answer the questions for the group. All right, after this presentation, everybody would switch roles. All right, good question.
There will be an opportunity for you to get feedback on your plan. So we built that in, I can't remember exactly where it is, but you'll see micro-teaching planning. So go ahead and fill out that planning sheet, what you think you're going to do probably tonight. And then all the mentor TAs will be roaming around so they can sit with you and give you feedback one-on-one. I think this is going to be too long, or this seems too complicated, or this is going to be over the heads of anyone who is not a bioengineer. So really invest time up front, because the macro-teaching session itself is a lot of fun. But it's more fun when you have good presentations to watch. So this, you owe it to yourself and to your neighbors to really plan this out carefully.
Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you for your time and for your attention. Hopefully this will help you in your planning process for your micro-teaching session.